Hello, welcome back to Self Yoga. This is the Letting Go series where I read from my notes that I've taken on the book Letting Go by David R. Hawkins. And I use this as a framework for identifying and being able to communicate about different emotions using the scale that he provides in the book Letting Go. All right. Today, the topic is going to be anger. So previously, we've spoken about desire. If you go to session number 7, and then next, what we'll talk about is pride on the next video. But today, I'm going to read from my notes. And as you get your things gathered, settle in, maybe you have your water bottle, maybe you want to get your blocks. I'll just begin with a brief centering exercise. So, from wherever you are, whether you're lying, standing, or seated, and I'll give you sort of an implication of where you may want to be. If you're starting your day and you've got a lot going on you need to attend to, maybe you're wanting a little more fire into your life so that you can get going and become more energized. So perhaps you'll want to stand and do these exercises modified in a way that aligns for you to be standing. If you're someone who's you're just doing this in the middle of your day, you're looking to maintain, then maybe you'll want to be seated. And if you're someone who's tired, it's at the end of the day, you're winding down, then you can also participate lying down and make the adjustments accordingly for where you are in your body at this time. All right. So to begin, come firmly into a still position. From wherever you are, allow for the palms to be open, facing forward. As you breathe, start to focus on your exhale, emptying out the lungs. And then as you inhale, breathe through the belly. Feel the belly expand forward, rib cage lift as you continue to take breath in. And then at the peak of that inhale, create a brief pause and then exhale everything back out. So as we begin with our breathing, maintain that consistency of breath by starting with a full exhale and then taking in as much new breath as you can. And as you continue to breathe, notice the sensations in your body. What does the intensity of any sensation that you're recognizing feel like for you? People feel emotions in different places, different parts of the body. Coming into this one today, after having gone from speaking about desire, going into the state of anger, notice what emotions arise for you. Notice if there's any tightness, pressure, tenseness, smoothness, fluidity at any parts of your body when we are focused on the word anger. What does anger feel like to you? Invite this curiosity in. And as you invite this curiosity, please continue to focus on your breath, extending those exhales. As today, there's a lot of reading that I'll have on my end, just because of the common misconceptions of anger, that it's a bad thing. There's a lot for us to really work through. Okay. Take one more big inhale. Pause at the top. And then exhale. Breathe everything out. If your eyes were closed, begin to go ahead and flutter them open. Today, let's begin working ourselves inward, outward. Okay. So we often begin with 6 movements of the spine, and I'll have us go through that in more of a flowing way here as I go through a little bit of the notes, because like I said, there's a lot to cover here. So if you are seated, go ahead and come to a comfortable seat. You'll want to bring the flesh of the glutes onto the mat as much as possible. Uh, tilt your hips forward as if you're pouring a bowl of liquid forward, so that your anus is making contact with the earth. Heart is lifted. And then take a big inhale, breathe, reach both arms up overhead, palms facing each other. And then as you exhale, take your right palm down away from your body toward the mat, pressing into that left heel, and then slowly bend that right elbow as you reach the left arm over the right side. And as you exhale, see what kind of extension you can get for yourself. And then on your inhale, we'll reverse directions, being mindful of taking your body at the same pace as your breath, okay? Here we're going to continue that movement. Inhale up through center, and then begin to exhale as you take your side bend, okay? So this is a lot more constant movement than what we're used to, but this is the topic of anger is something that we want to invite a little bit more movement into, and especially for the upper body, because this may be where a lot of us hold a lot of our anger. It may be beginning in the chest, the upper back, in the shoulders, in the head. These are some common places that people have expressed feeling anger in the body. So as you continue to take those side bends, I'll begin by speaking about anger. Anger may vary from rage to resentment. It can be expressed as sarcasm, impatience, aggression, violence, rebellion, agitation, pouting, stubbornness. These are all signs of anger that we may not recognize as anger. We can get angry about even this process of letting go of our emotions, even after we've identified that there is anger. Um, and there's a fear of loss or having to let go of things in the past that have helped us. So if we're attempting to surrender a negative emotion, we can be angry about the fact that we even have to let go of the emotion. We can be angry about the loss, the grief, the pain that it caused, the money that we lost as a result of the situation. What we need to understand is that there's a lot of energy in anger, and we are very energized in this place. We often move from apathy to grief to anger to pride and then into courage. Anger is the energy of action, and that anger can be taken into the world. So, how do we use anger positively? First, go ahead and complete the cycle of breath that you're on. Make your way back through center. Take an inhale, reach the arms up overhead, and then as you exhale, bring the palms together, lower down slowly. And then you can place your palms onto your lap. If you're lying on your back, let them fall to the sides open. And if you're standing, draw your shoulder blades back, chest lifted, palms forward as well. Next, what we'll do is take gentle twists. So here we may take about 3 breaths per side. So take a big inhale, reach both arms up overhead. And then as you exhale, go ahead and gently rotate your torso to the left side, placing the right knee to the outside of the right hand to the outside of the left knee, and use your backhand as a kickstand to extend and keep your chest lifted, and then begin to rotate over toward the left. And as you rotate, exhale, try and continue to stay with the breath. And after that first rotation over to the left, take another inhale and then exhale. See if you can twist a little more, taking the gaze over that left shoulder. And then as you exhale, come back through center. You don't have to raise your arms back overhead, but you can repeat the process of during the exhale, placing the left hand to the outside of the right knee now. Right hand becomes your kickstand. Heart is lifted. Exhale, twist. Take another inhale. And as you exhale, see if you can twist a little bit more over to the right side. And then as you need to inhale, make your way back through center and just continue to rotate. Go slow and move with the breath here. Using anger positively. We commonly repress anger because it's seen as unpleasant, undignified. But the thing about repressed anger is that the energy of anger, if not worked through, will cause harm to us and oftentimes to people around us. Even unexpressed anger is still anger. So, as we view this positively and let it fire us up, it can begin to fuel our actions. Work isn't safe for us to express anger, but if we were to take that energy and use it in a positive way, what we do is decide to constructively use it on our own behalf, maybe to create a project that proves our point. Let's say we're in a work environment where our boss doesn't listen to us. We have an idea that can make us more money, cost us less money, and everybody wins, but they're unable to hear it, or they don't trust your work in the past, or there's something that uh, there's a resistance to them being willing to hear you bring this plan to them. So, with that energy of anger, you may be frustrated, annoyed, angry at the fact that you're not being heard. What you can do is go and do that project. If you are recommending a podcast for your business as a marketing strategy and they're not hearing you, then start that podcast. And this is something that we would be able to do on our own. And maybe you go off and you show them, hey, here's what I've done, here's what's happened. We should incorporate this. Or you take it somewhere else, or you use it for yourself. But the anger, rather than you being angry and you're like, oh, you know what? Well, you guys suck anyway, right? If we are able to identify, okay, I'm angry, there's a lot of energy here. What's a constructive way of using this energy? I'm going to create something. On your next exhale, go ahead and work your way back through center. Okay. And from wherever you are, it would be easier if we were all seated at this point. So you can bring the bottoms of your feet together in front of you from a seated position, or you can cross your legs, whatever's most comfortable for you. And you can take your hands to the front of your knees and then breathe deeply. Inhale, tilting the pelvis forward, gaze comes up toward the ceiling. And then as you exhale, begin to round your back. Maybe you'll press against the knees, and we're just doing a seated cat cow. You can also do this from all fours. If you want to incorporate a twist, feel free to do so, going in either direction as you come forward. Bring your gaze up toward the sky, and then as you work your way back, exhale, okay? And then whichever direction you decide to take your twist into, just alternate. Go one direction and the other direction if you decide to incorporate a twist, but moving slowly at the pace of the breath. So, anger also in relationships, it can inspire us to improve the relationship and do a better job. And this can inspire us to look within and accept our own feelings of anger. So relationships have this way of the person that we're with, the people that we're with, they mirror us. They show us aspects of ourselves that we may not often get feedback on because people just aren't around us enough to be able to give that. Think about it at work. You're at work for, let's say, 8 hours a day, and people there are still doing their own thing. So people know you from the lens of being at work. Whereas a person you're in a relationship with knows you outside of work, which you're so many other, those are so many other aspects of yourself. So in this relationship, as things get brought up for you, if you recognize and acknowledge your own intense emotions, your own sense of anger, how can we use that anger in a way that is going to benefit me in the relationship? That's how we can start to look at it, right? So, and we'll continue to read more, speak more about like useful ways of expressing anger too. But one of the ways to look at anger is a source of anger is pride, especially vanity. It's our personal pride that feeds anger. Self sacrifice is where this is all connected. And when others aren't aware of what sacrifices we make, they can't give us what we want from them. There's a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover. And in the book, he speaks about covert contracts. And in these covert contracts, there's often an expectation from one individual onto another person where they think, oh, if I give you this thing and we're both aware of the thing that I'm giving you, then you're going to be able to give me a thing that I want from you that you have no idea I want from you. So this is covert because the other person has no idea of what this expectation is. And then a result can be anger at the other person because they didn't give us a thing that we didn't communicate to them that we need. So it's very interesting to see how this can play out in our relationships, especially. Um, I want to go ahead and take yourself back to center. So we just finished with side bends, rotations, and then cat cows. Next, I'd like for us to do a little bit of upper body opening up, especially because I mentioned like the chest, head, neck, shoulders. These are all areas in the upper back where people have expressed feeling anger. So let's begin to open up our chest. If you have a towel, a shirt, a rag, ideally a strap, feel free to take it out wide in front of you. You can grab both ends, and you may vary in flexibility, but here I want you to take it out wide, creating almost a letter Y. So if you can lift your strap, towel, whatever you have over your head, slowly as you breathe with the breath, begin to take that strap back behind you. And here we are opening up the shoulders, opening up the chest. And all you have to do here is breathe in as you go back, and then maybe you'll go back in and then out as you come overhead, taking it down in front of you. Here we are really flossing out the shoulders. Maybe you can incorporate some circles here, but the idea is for us to bring the strap back, rotating the shoulders. Continue to keep your chin forward, looking up maybe towards the camera or just somewhere that's about 45 degrees above and in front of you. And we'll just continue flossing here in the shoulder area, and we'll feel an opening of the chest, and I'll continue to read. So, again, it's our personal pride that feeds anger, and the self sacrifice being the intersection here. When others are not aware of whatever the sacrifice is, they they can't give us what we see. So what happens is that resentment starts to build and we become angry. Have you ever kept score in a relationship? I did this for you. I do this for you. I do this for you. What do you do for me? Right? You've got three things in mind, and the other person, like you see that they haven't done certain things in the relationship or for you. So now this is where that resentment starts to build, and this is a symptom of anger. What we desire from others is felt as pressure. Some people will resist that pressure. And this is where we get into our conflict, our confrontation, just from the resistance of pressure. Resistance to that pressure is always felt as a denial of our choice or a rejection. So, this is a really powerful section to really begin to look at our relationship to rejection, right? Some people feel sadness when it comes from rejection, but oftentimes with covert contracts, expectations, and pressure that we're putting onto someone else to give us a thing that we may want, even if they have no idea that we want this thing, we have not we haven't communicated or expressed, hey, I want this from you. We're putting pressure on a person to deliver something to us that they have no idea that we want, or even if they should know what it is we want because we've taken them out on a date or because we call them every day, right? So take this from a sex perspective, right? Like we buy dinner, we pick them up, we're gentlemen, whatever. We do these things. It's expected that we receive sex as a result of what we're doing for the other person. The reality is, if we are not communicating, we can't even get and give consent in this type of an encounter. Consent is so much more than saying no. Like no means no. It goes far beyond that in the sense that we can't cover it all today. But I want you to start thinking in the mindset of communicating desires, right? Pressure is just that unspoken. It's unspoken oftentimes, right? But it can also be spoken. Hey, you better make sure you do this. You better make sure you do this right. Like think about how it feels to be on the receiving end of pressure, right? It feels heavy, right? Take another exhale as you once you make your way forward, and then from here, just take some gentle neck rolls. You can lower your right ear to the right shoulder, and then slowly as you breathe, take your chin down to your chest. Bring the left ear over to the left shoulder. Then Take the chin up to the sky and think about it as if we're just drawing circles with the chin on the ceiling. All right. And then we'll just reverse direction one at a time. All right. We'll go one way and then the other as I continue to read through. So, think about how someone feels when how it feels when somebody's fishing for a compliment, right? Like, when someone's fishing for a compliment, and you may not even like the thing that they're fishing for a compliment for, so you might feel pressure to say something that you don't really mean. Oftentimes people do things that they don't really want to do out of a place of anger as well, and now boom, more resentment builds because oftentimes when we become lenient or accepting of something of someone else that we don't quite align with or care for, we're saying no to ourselves. We're rejecting ourselves in that place. So it's important for us to be able to be honest, right? And if somebody wants a compliment, if you don't align with, what they want for you to say, then you don't have to. So them just not asking, hey, I got this shirt. Here's how I'm feeling about it. I don't know. You give them your real opinion, right? Like if they ask for it, but there's no need to, if they're like, oh, hey, like I got notice anything different about me. That feels like pressure because now you got to guess and figure it out. Oh my God, what did you look like before? What are you asking about? Could it be the shoes? Is it the face? Is it the haircut? Like what could it be? And now all of this pressure is happening inside of us, and we feel like we have to now say the right thing. There's a secret vanity about what we are doing for others, and there's a pride of self sacrifice, and our pride of achievement makes us angry when our sacrifice is not recognized. We must view our efforts as gifts rather than desire for self pity, and we got to surrender that. Right? Like, this is something that I struggle with all the time because I have this sort of a hero complex where I believe that everyone has good in them. Everyone should have access to, the things that are helpful to us all. I look at my relationship to yoga and how I've come to this place of seeing it as such a useful and powerful thing for myself. And I recognize after having been in yoga for as long as I have, that a lot of the language, a lot of the resources are just psychologically inaccessible to me before I got into yoga. And I was kind of forced into it because of my own backstory. And I'm so thankful that I have been. And I'm able to see that there's so much more usefulness out of it if it can be communicated in a way that more people are able to understand, especially those who look like me. So I recognize that, there's been like, there used to be sort of an expectation of, oh, if I do good, good things will happen. And that is not how that works at all. Go ahead and take a rest, shake it out from the neck area. And then just go ahead and take your left ear to your left shoulder and then slowly take the right ear to the right. Go back and forth. Maybe take a couple more neck rolls. And now what we'll do next is taking that same strap or t-shirt, pillowcase, whatever you have, and we're going to uh, we're going to do a tricep stretch. I'll spin around so that I can show you this. Okay. So here, what we're going to do is bring the right arm over the top first, holding onto the strap, and your strap's going to fall down the center of your back. You'll want to bring the back of the left hand back behind you, grab that strap, and then begin to lower or grab from both ends of the strap and then pull both directions, keeping your heart lifted. And maybe you'll play around with pulling on the left. You're pulling your left arm, pulling it down, right arm pulling up. We really just want to stretch out those triceps, open up the chest, keep your elbows peeled back, almost like you're trying to grab a sheet of paper between your back muscles down the middle, or like you're trying to hold the strap. Okay. And we'll stay here. Just continue to breathe. All right. And then I'll let you know when to switch directions. So, the thing about gifts, like when we look at our attachment to pride and the sacrifices that we make, if we start to look at them as gifts, it begins to just change things. Like we become much more generous and we're giving from a place of no expectations, non attachment, right? And think about how good that feels when you just are giving and you're putting out into the world from a place of no expectations or attachments. You might even find that the world's rewarding you tenfold what you might have given in the past. So, um, acknowledgement is another aspect of bringing this up. So, the behavior of others toward us always has a hidden gift for us, and it may appear as a signal for us to just be aware. If somebody calls us a bad thing, we can inquire on that and just become curious about it. And our awareness is now at, okay, well, what's happening here? As we follow this pattern, we see reflected back that which needs to be addressed. And these can be reminders for us to continue to just let go. We got to resist the temptation of making others and ourselves wrong. This is one of the things that anger does, is that it others people. All right. Go ahead and on your next exhale, go ahead. You can shake it out. Just wave your arms side to side. Maybe take some shoulder circles, some arm circles forward and backwards. And then go ahead and switch sides. So this time the left arm's going to be over the top, and then the right hand's going to be towards your back with your palm facing out. Grab the strap, and then we'll pull in opposite direction, stretching out the hamstrings, opening the shoulders and the chest, peeling the shoulder blades back. Um, the small self or the lowercase self only knows what it knows to accomplish goals. To force ourselves out of a situation, we attempt to make a thing wrong. So it's intolerable for us to change the thing. The easier route is just to choose a better situation. But the thing is, guilt, which is like an obligation, will keep us in a situation because we feel wrong for leaving the situation that we've gotten so much from. I think about the phrase like I'm a product of my environment. I can't tell you how many people who have left their environment feel this sense of guilt like they have to go back. And in music, we hear about rappers who just didn't leave the hood. They liked where they were. They stayed in the places that they were. And because they grew up there, because they family there, they felt like they couldn't leave. Even with success, like they would bring, their wealth and everything back to where they were. And there's been people who've gotten murdered. There have been people who, just because of that guilt and not being able to let go of the guilt of, all right, well, maybe I move my family out of there, right? But it's this product of an environment, thought process that I resonate here with, um, because I had to make, even for me moving away from where I'm from, I had to make everything wrong there instead of just accepting and acknowledging that this isn't for me anymore and that there's something else for me. I see my family as I can, my friends, I try and keep in touch, but at this end of the day, there's a constant letting go of that guilt for not being there, for missing events, for not talking to family and friends that often. So we have to make a thing or person wrong in order to leave is a previously held belief that I've had. Go ahead and begin to take your arms as if you're giving yourself a hug and alternate which arms on top. As you inhale, open the arms, and then as you exhale, give yourself a hug. And if this feels good for you, go ahead and stay there for as long as you need to. But we'll just alternate. Breathe in as you open up, exhale as you close up, okay? So the context of love is just to be considerate, providing, loving. That's what's on the healing side of these emotions. If it's happening to us, then it's happening to us. We just have to acknowledge others' gestures to us and give that same sense of secureness to others while acknowledging their value and have that be what we mirror back and forth. This also can happen within as we just ask ourselves, have what may we have what we may have failed to acknowledge in others, and just to ourselves we can give credit to what their value is, no matter what the thing is that's being communicated. If someone's like, hey, I don't like that thing you did, this is an opportunity for us to self-inquire and go within and be like, okay, well, why did I do that thing? all of our journal prompts, right? These are opportunities to self reflect in a way that we can identify a gift in that exploration that was triggered or activated by the other person saying something to us. After your next hug, go ahead and relax. Make your way onto your mat. And here we'll go down into a push up position. And we're almost done with all the constant movement, y'all. I'm sorry. So, what we'll do next is come down onto our belly. You can lower the tops of the feet down to the mat. Extend the right arm out to the side like you're making a half T. Place the left palm underneath the left shoulder as if we're going to do a push up on that side, and then slowly press into the earth with the left hand, and then begin to bring the left leg back behind you. Try and get that heel on the ground, and here you'll feel an opening of not just that left side body, but also that right pec. And then we'll just continue to alternate from side to side. All right. Bringing that right hand in for a half push up, extending that left arm out to the side. And we'll just go back and forth, back and forth. So when we stop pressuring others with our expectations, we create an opening for them to respond positively and spontaneously to us. That's where presence comes in, right? When we're not placing pressure on people, we can be more responsive to what the moment is requiring of us or what it's requesting of us. Try to intentionally lean into your pride and begin to observe other people's reactions to it, right? There's the boy meets girl theory is what they talk about there. So in short, when boy meets girl, if the boy doesn't like the girl likes him, and vice versa is one example here. Um, so and speaking to that, right? Like that's not always the case, but it's a common story, right? So if you consciously go into something like that, watch how responsive the world can become to you, right? So as you lean into the pride and you start to see people's reactions to your pride, do that same thing with a new intention and then practice the acknowledgement to surrender. Try it on wearing a new shirt or putting on like a new cologne, right? And just lean into whatever your intention is with it, right? So I've said this before. We get what we want when we stop wanting it from others, right? So if a person was incapable of giving you a thing, you would probably still get that thing, but you would need to realize that it's something that you're capable of getting on your own first. So when we want from others, it can be seen as emotional blackmail, especially if we have these expectations or these covert contracts in play. Go ahead and bring both hands underneath the shoulders. And now you'll bend both knees and we'll just windshield wiper the knees or the feet left to right. And you'll feel sort of this loosening up in the hip area. Okay. And then move with the breath here. Um, as we decide to no longer accept invalidation of others, what happens is that it can be a choice to just no longer accept it. We can acknowledge all of the positive in and around us as what validates us, right? So I'm choosing where I get my validation from, and I'm looking at the positive around me, not necessarily any individual to give me that, okay? Go ahead and come onto your back. Let's see. And then I'll close out the chapter speaking to resentment a little bit more, okay? So as you lie down on your back, let your feet fall to the wayside, bring your palms open to your sides, and then continue to just focus on your breath, taking slow, deep exhales and then full breath inhales, starting with the belly expanding and the ribs lifting. All right. We just got a few more minutes here. So I'll read through this and give you your exercise while you rest in your final resting pose here. Chronic resentment is unrecognized anger, and resentment that emerges as depression or anger against oneself. Psychosomatic illnesses, high blood pressure, headaches, arthritis are all let go of as people learn to let go of negative emotions. There's a study that is done that letting go lowers blood pressure, and I am a testament to that. After having high blood pressure for the last 12 years at least, it was when I started implementing these techniques for myself, as well as changing up and learning about, what factors, food wise, exercise wise, contribute to high blood pressure. I think I started to just live in a different way as a more emotionally expressive person due to being able to identify those emotions myself. So, Stanford University of Forgiveness project confirms the cardiac benefits of letting go, and he cited Lust in 2003. Anger kills the angry person. It does not kill the enemy. And there is no justified anger that's even propped up about vanity and how right we are and wrong others are. When we do that and we make enemies, we just perpetually create this space of anger, and the price is just always going to be illness, right? Looking back at the high blood pressure and the cardiac benefits of letting go, if there's benefits of letting go, then there's going to be negative implications of holding on. Think about a loan we offer. We might have resentment, and if we're honest with ourselves, we secretly might even enjoy making the other person wrong in that. Like, oh, this person owes me money. When we begin to explore the payoffs ourselves and start to surrender those, we let go and we can see the loan as a gift. Letting go of the resentment makes way for gratefulness and acknowledgement of the gift due to the opportunity to just help someone in need. Again, when have you ever just given without any expectation or attachment to receiving back? That's when we begin to receive even more. Many experiences show that we are physically connected. Our interactions shape our vibes, y'all, and our thoughts create records that are always being read. The letting go example of anger, as we begin to just let go of anger, like that's an example, real time, right? Take a thing that you're mad about and start to deconstruct the facts from your opinion from it, and you'll start to break down that anger in ways that are more digestible for you to take in, accept, and then be able to let go of. Letting go of negativity, what happens is that we see a greater balance between left brain and right brain function for a more integrated approach to decision making. We can read situations a lot better with intuition and logic to offset anger that comes from miscommunication. So, miscommunication often leads to more anger, right? So our mere willingness to relinquish anger relinquishes anger. And it starts that process for us just by being willing to, by showing up here and listening to or participating in this session, we're already beginning to let go of anger. So why go out of the way to hold resentment? That effort of just being angry with people can really be spent converting enemies into friends. I don't know if y'all watch Dragon Ball Z, but look at Goku and Vegeta. Vegeta's a friend now, right? He came to blow up the planet. He came with a chip on his shoulder, and somehow, Goku, through just, using that anger in a different way, was inspiring and was able to make friends of him. He didn't harbor resentment like, hey, you came here and tried to blow up our planet. I don't like you, right? He was able to let that go. Making people wrong is where we unconsciously are programmed for in the media. We free up time and attention as we begin to let go of anger and not let those messaging consume and control us. We can get stuck until we let go of the pattern of anger, and it will always bring up people into our lives until we handle our inner anger. Then we see people disappear from around us. People who might have incited anger in us, or that we may think make us angry, or that seem like they're always angry. We see them just slowly begin to fade out, but also we start to see people who aren't that make their way in, and we have the capacity for it, right? We are free to experience gratitude, mutual caring, help, and more life energy in order to move up to a state of effortless inner freedom. But it starts with us being able to look at, what does anger feel like for us? What is anger doing for us? What is our payoff that we get from experiencing anger? Do we even know when we're angry? Taking it back to the beginning, how it can show up as sarcasm, impatience, aggression, violence, rebellion, agitation, stubbornness, resentment. Begin to look at those specific words, those expressions of anger, and identify which ways you may show or express anger in your own way. Have you seen any of these symptoms of anger? And when you have, or when you do, what do you normally do? Let your exercise for this be looking at the most recent time that you felt anger and just write, I was angry when blank, and write what happened. Start to dissect that, all of the aspects of it, right? So this made me angry. Well, why did it make you angry? What about it were you angry at? Is it multiple aspects that you find yourself angered by? Is it even anger that you feel about it? There may be conflicting emotions. There may be some relief. There may be some sadness. There may be some anger. There may be some jealousy. There may be some apathy or indifference. But to be able to take a situation that you may think you were angry about and dissect and see that there's actually different emotions, now we can begin to take our power back from that situation, because we can look at it for what it really is. All right, so that was a chapter of anger. And next, what we'll go into is pride. I'm Courtney Brain. This is Self Yoga, the Letting Go series. Please subscribe to our newsletter for more updates on our self events, our men's emotional wellness symposia, as well as other yoga classes and perhaps opportunities to connect. Thank you.